I wanted to give you an update on the lawsuits. As you may recall, in federal court, I am suing the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice for infringing on my First Amendment rights. In that suit, the Minnesota Board is being represented by the Attorney General Keith Ellison's office. There's another suit that is in state courts, and that's dealing with the Attorney General's office specifically. In Minnesota, we have a Data Practices Act that allows me to request a copy or the opportunity to look at emails, letters, documents, correspondence that involve me and are not privileged from a lawyer-client relationship. Keith Ellison's office has outright told us that they are not going to comply entirely with the Data Practices Act. They're going to hold some, if you will, pieces back from us because if they turn them over to us, they're afraid that we might talk about them in the public square. And arguably, that's exactly why the Minnesota Data Practices Act exists, is so we do have a chance to talk about this in the public square. So on December 1st, 2023, in a St. Paul federal court, we had our opportunity to tell the judge why the Attorney General's motion to dismiss the case against the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice was unfounded. I found it interesting that during this court case, the judge asked a question something like this. Is it your view that because the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice has dismissed all the allegations, that we have a situation where there's no harm, no foul? I appreciated the fact that it seemed like the judge was going a little deeper and saying, you took it upon yourselves to have a broad jurisdiction on things that clearly had nothing to do with the practice of medicine with Dr. Jensen. And just because you've dismissed those allegations doesn't mean that there's not a problem that needs to be remedied by the courts. I appreciated that. Also, there was one point made where the defendant utilized the claim that I was a danger to public health. Now, that had come from one of the allegations. When he did that, I was reflecting in the court how much that had chilled my speech while I was in the Senate, while I was campaigning for the governor's seat in Minnesota in 2022. There's no question. If a physician in good standing is being investigated repeatedly by the Board of Medical Practice, and the accusation comes down the pike that he or she is a danger to public health, it does chill my speech. There was a point where the judge made some question like this. He said, do you think a complaint outside of a patient-doctor relationship allows the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice to, quote, go fishing? When the judge said go fishing, I have to tell you, my spirit lifted. I don't know what the judge is going to decide in this motion, but I do know that the judge, by using those two words, go fishing, is aware of the fact that this is what happened. I remember the fifth investigation where it was about this and this, and I responded to it. And then the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice said, you need to send us patient medical records. They sort of went fishing. And when they got done looking at those medical records, one of their biggest concerns was my handwriting wasn't that legible. They found that on a fishing expedition, and I think that's outside the purview of the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice. So I'm grateful for the three branches of government. Truly, the executive branch, which is where the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice falls under, is not able to do their job without help from the legislative branch as well as the judicial branch. The legislative branch has been fractured and unable to deal with the fact that the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice is a vital cog in protecting Minnesota residents from doctors, if you will, loss of good care or lack of good care or lack of meeting the standard of care. But nevertheless, the legislature has not been willing to potentially broaden the ability of the Minnesota Board of Medical Practice to eliminate certain complaints that have no merit or no diligence associated with them. So the legislature has not been able to deal with it. So now I'm looking to the judiciary branch. I'm looking to the courts. And I'm saying, my First Amendment rights have been violated. I made statements that were absolutely reasonable to make in the public square, particularly as a sitting senator and as a candidate for governor. So we don't know when we're going to get the judge's decision. It could be anywhere from 2 months to 12 months probably, but I'll let you know. And I really appreciate your steadfast support. I can feel you. You're standing side by side with me, and it matters so much to Mary and I. Thank you.